Hey guys, it's Sadie. Want to show you, this is my power supply, and it's a little awkward because I'm holding the tablet with one hand and trying to do this. So the top thing came off here. This power supply's been through a lot. You can see that most of them have this. They usually have this bar with a ground on it, um, and then the current and the voltage, and it has always. This is so standard. It's so standard. I'm not even gonna go into it. Okay, but I've got the one side off, and then I started working on the other, so I wouldn't spend so much time taking this apart. But what I want to do is just take off that top handle part, and let's look inside. I've never opened this up. So this is a, it goes up to 30 volts. It's only a 30-volt supply, but it's really nice. And it wasn't that much. I got it off my favorite place to work and shop. You know what it is. I don't have to keep saying it. Okay. Wow, look at this. This doesn't look too... This looks pretty cool in here, you guys. Wow. It doesn't... You know, it's one of those nice toroid... Well, that's just the... That's just... Sorry, that's not the transformer. That's a inductor. And then we have a transformer back there. We got two of the voltage regulators there. Oh, maybe this is for the current and that's for the voltage. I'm not 100% sure, but you know, that's all it has on there, current and voltage, and then it has the coarse and fine like they all do. Well, that's a nice little thing. And like I said, it's been through a lot. It's been, you know, it's been pretty abused, but what I wanted to do is just take off the screws off there. But I thought, well, I have it apart. I don't know why I'm like OCD like that. Like the strap, there's a little strap on that, but it bothers me that those two screws are on there. So I'm like, I'm just gonna take them off. But of course, this doesn't bother me, but this bothers me. Okay, so yeah, look at this. It looks really nice and clean. Let's see if we can get a little closer. Wow, you guys, that looks pretty good. I mean, it just looks really nice and clean. Let's see if we can see what some of these capacitors are. You know, oh, they're rated 105C, which is the better ones. But I don't know the maker. Those are 200. Sorry about this. I'm trying to hold the. Okay. So those are 200 volts. 200 volts. 330 microfarads. I don't know the maker of them because, of course, they're both turned around, but they have to be turned around because we have the negatives right there. They could not turn them around. But wasn't there printing on this side too? Well, let me just stretch here. Oh, there's Sunvika. And they're the 105 too. So that's pretty cool. This thing wasn't terribly expensive. I made a short that showed that was missing some capacitors. And, you know, they do revisions all the time. You guys know they do revisions all the time. So anytime you get a kit, sometimes they've changed the values of the resistors. Sometimes, but a lot of times you'll see circuit boards with missing parts where they just, I mean, if you look at this, it looks like they decided it could get away with just having these two instead of three, because that looks like the footprint of those two. And then this one looks like that. So maybe they just determined, well, we don't need all these capacitors. I've worked recapping places before, and you know, sometimes we'd run out of them. We'd reuse them out of other things. We'd, you know, put just as long as we could get it to work. And so maybe they just determined we don't need all that in there. This isn't very high power. So I forget what it delivers. I forget what it delivers on its maximum. But let's see here. Probably shouldn't do this. Of course, probably shouldn't do this. But let's see what. I think it goes up to. I don't know how many amps it goes up to. But. Yeah, it's a nice little. Okay, so. Okay, yeah, there's our 30 volts. And then I forget what this one will go up to. I mean, it's not going to, even turning up, you know that even turning up these all the way, there's nothing drawing any current. So you can max out the current, but since there's nothing hooked up, you know, that's basic electronics. There's nothing hooked up to draw. It's just like having an amp on and turning up the volume all the way and then having no signal in. Okay, you know what we can charge up is this. Look at this, you guys. Check this out. So these are, I have 6 times 2.7 volts. And then there's 100 farads. And then we have to divide that by 6. But I did determine that this has like 112 joules. 112 joules. So if we were looking at my Sparky that I had before, remember that was 40 or 50 joules, but of course that was 300 or 400 volts. So what you can do with this is you can high gauge wire, you can make it get red, and because it will be able to deliver so much current. But you definitely need to be very careful with this, because if you were to short it out with a very with a low gauge or high gauge wire, like if you were to put a 4 gauge wire across there, you would draw a lot of current, and these could get hot, or I don't know if they could explode, but you're definitely, maybe you could get away with doing that once, but if you kept, you had power coming in with feeding it a lot of current, 16 volts, and then you kept taking it out or something, you could maybe use this for a car amplifier. But what most people use these for is to heat things up. Some of those ZVS inductor circuits have this. So we could try to charge it up. The sad part is I'm trying to hold the tablet and do this. So I definitely want to turn that down, because 2.7 times, so that's 2.7 times 6. So that's 12, and then 0.7 times 6. So it's like 16 volts. There's a decimal there that I'm forgetting. There's a decimal there. Okay, so I think we're okay there. These can take a surge. Most of these can take a surge, but I wouldn't want to. This looks like a good company. This is Power Store Aerogel. It does not, isn't that suspicious? It doesn't have a, it doesn't have the, I'm sorry, I'm not in focus, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to hold the tablet. I'm on my bed. I'm sorry. It doesn't have the rating on it. So is there a default? If there's no rating, sorry, I want to focus again. If there's no rating on it, does that default to 85 C for the temperature? Okay, we're at 10 minutes.